I'm normally a very big fan of the old school formula of Assassin's Creed games. The games like Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and Assassin's Creed Revelations always connected with me in a certain way that barely any other games did. Assassin's Creed Mirage was also a game that swore an oath to take the route of the games that I mentioned. Assassin's Creed Mirage was said to be a game that was a return to the roots. And yes, the game was absolutely a breath of fresh air since getting 3 RPG games in a row. Now, many of the people actually like these RPG games, and this video is not made to say that those games have anything bad. I actually liked Assassin's Creed Origins a lot, but I'm not necessarily a big fan of the RPG formula in the Assassin's Creed series. When I think about Assassin's Creed games in general, I don't necessarily think about Assassin's Creed Valhalla or Odyssey. I think about OG Assassin's Creed games. I think about the characters like Ezio Auditore, Connor, Altair, and obviously Edward Kenway. And Assassin's Creed Mirage was the game that was about to give this feeling. But the question is, did it actually do its job? Well, that is kind of subjective because to different people, the meaning of Back to the Roots might be different, right? And I don't know what version of Back to the Roots Ubisoft followed while making Assassin's Creed Mirage. One thing I would say is that definitely in terms of the overall gameplay loop, Assassin's Creed Mirage served really good. And quite honestly, there's a lot of channels who have already made a video about this. And I have personally also made a video about this some months ago, that whether Assassin's Creed Mirage is worth playing or not after the hype of the game is gone. You can check that video out if you wanna buy the game. But this video is not about that. This video is specifically about what does it mean to be back to the roots and whether Assassin's Creed Mirage was able to achieve this goal or not. Before I answer this question, I would highly appreciate a like on this video and feel free to subscribe to this channel if you want more Assassin's Creed related content. Anyways, the simplest way to evaluate whether Assassin's Creed Mirage succeeded in doing its job is by just thinking about the things that made the OG Assassin's Creed games so good in the first place. Was it the stealth of those games? Was it the parkour? Or was it the linear open world, no XP progression gameplay? I think that these metrics do hold a lot of value, but I still think that even if these things are not to the point similar to that of the OG Assassin's Creed games, still it would not make that much difference if they are some fundamental things. So I do think that these things like the parkour, the stealth, stuff like these do have a role in this, but I think there is a much more important thing, and that is more fundamental. And yes, as I said, it is not only the stealth, the parkour, or the linear open world no XP progression gameplay, but the approach Ubisoft took while making the old school Assassin's Creed games. Now, what do I mean by approach? Well, when these old school Assassin's Creed games were made, the overall game industry was pretty different than what it is now. The companies generally didn't care about having big games. They'd put all their effort in making a game that is max to max 20 hours long. And that's why the RPG Assassin's Creed games, despite of their massive size, lack a very big component. And that is the story and the overall experience that you get while playing the game. Now, the massive size actually does not correlate with having, bad experience or like bad stories in general. The perfect example would be of Red Dead Redemption 2. The game is big, the game is like massive, it's a very long game, but still the quality of the missions are really good at the same time. Now, it is like a signature of Rockstar games that their games are gonna be big as well as quality, and obviously that's why those games take a lot of time. Ubisoft at its core is not a company that makes a single game. It's not a company like Rockstar that is completely dependent on mainly Grand Theft Auto or Red Dead Redemption. So Ubisoft makes bunch of these games, and with Ubisoft, quality is not their forte. It is mainly the massive size of the game. That's what they are focusing on. And you might say Assassin's Creed Mirage is not an RPG game, and that is right, but you have to remember that Assassin's Creed Mirage was based on the mechanics of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Almost everything in the game is like literally copy pasted from Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and just some things are changed a little bit here and there, and that's it. It is like the same template from Valhalla, and boom, they're copy pasted on Mirage. I would say there is barely any work compared to any other games, but still, as you might say, it was made by a much smaller studio, right? It was Ubisoft Bordeaux, and that is their first game. Mostly this studio was just for support, but this time they created their own Assassin's Creed game. So, for the first game, it's pretty big. And this video is specifically not for shitting on Assassin's Creed Mirage or something like that, but it's rather to talk about why it is still not a complete back to the roots game in my opinion, and what they can do in order to make it back to the roots, what it actually means to be back to the roots. I'm gonna ask you one simple question. Do you think that the narrative aspect of Assassin's Creed Mirage was anything close to that of the older Assassin's Creed games. Do you think that the lifeless characters that you see in Assassin's Creed Mirage have anything similar to that of OG Assassin's Creed games? I personally don't think so. You see any of the side characters in Assassin's Creed Mirage, and do you have the same impact while talking to them compared to you felt in the older Assassin's Creed games like Assassin's Creed 2 or Brotherhood or Revelations or any of those games? In Assassin's Creed 2, we talked to Leonardo. There were other, different assassins with us. Did you feel the same way in that game? No, obviously, when you talk to those characters, you actually felt a connection with those characters in that game. But in Assassin's Creed Mirage, it is just like a temporary thing. Well, we are in the story for just a temporary time. We are not gonna remember it. We are just gonna enjoy the gameplay, and then when the game is finished, boom, we are out of it. We are not gonna have anything impactful on it. It's just like a day thing, right? I think that the way that people are measuring the success of the Assassin's Creed games is by thinking that, well, I'm gonna have this crazy parkour in this game, and boom, it is all of a sudden a banger. It is not like that, and it is never gonna be like that, because just a single metric like parkour or stealth is not gonna decide if a game is good or it is back to the roots, right? There's a lot of different components, and these are not even the major components. These are part of it, but these do not even make like 10 or 20% of it. More important measure, in my personal opinion, would be that we actually get to see the journey of a character, just like we saw Ezio from his childhood to a mentor and then quitting everything. Just like we saw Altair being a narcissist dude to someone who acknowledges his mistakes and moves on with his life. Just like Edward being a greedy pirate to someone who sees more clearly and becomes a more well-rounded and matured human being. And also just like Connor experiencing the difficulties he goes through since his childhood. These are not just games to me, these are experiences. Do you relate with Basim in a similar way? I mean, if you have not played the older Assassin's Creed games, then sure, you might not think like this. By the way, if you have not played these games, the older Assassin's Creed games, you are missing on a lot. Those games are more than just a game. Same thing I would say for games like Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a game that you are probably gonna experience only once in life. I don't think anything can recreate the amount of impact that gave me, guys. That is just immense. And same thing I would say with the impact that Assassin's Creed 2 gave me. It was like just insane, and I cannot forget the amount of joy I had while I played that game. If you play those older Assassin's Creed games, you're gonna realize that despite of the technological advancements, we have still degraded. Imagine having mocap cutscenes in almost all of your games and then removing it almost completely in your next games. Assassin's Creed 2 came like 15 years ago, and that game had mocap. Imagine that, guys. And the games that you see right now, since Assassin's Creed Odyssey, they have completely removed that thing. And you might think that is just a small thing, right? But those mocap cutscenes are one of the reasons why you would just not feel the same. The way you perceive the characters, the way you perceive the overall narrative of the game, it highly depends on these small factors. These small factors like mocap play a really big role in the overall narrative aspect of the game. And also the dialogues, because of the lack of mocap, have also become cheesy at the same time in the recent Assassin's Creed games, and I saw that in Assassin's Creed Shadows trailer as well. I kind of get it though from Ubisoft's perspective. The audience right now of Assassin's Creed games are not the same as the older Assassin's Creed games, and most of the newer fans necessarily don't really care about this, to be honest. I would say I'm in the minority of the folks who think in this way. Ubisoft does it because at the end of the day, they want higher profit margins, right? And if you can cut the cost on stuff like mocap and actual good writers, why would you not do that? Right? Considering most of the people would be fine without even noticing these things. You might not believe, but stuff like mocap actually might cost a lot of money because you are hiring characters for a longer period of time, rather than just having to voice them. You are having them act. That is a complete different thing. And imagine how many different takes it will take, to do all these mocap stuff. So this mocap requires money as well as, extra time. This thing takes time as well, right? It is not just some AI automated sort of template that you're going to use again and again that you see in the RPG Assassin's Creed games as well as Mirage, right? Also in the recent times, since TikTok and stuff like that has flooded the market, people have started consuming garbage anyways. Those TikTok videos are now the norm and people are satisfied with that. People don't actually have the patience anymore to actually indulge into a story. And this is why games overall right now are changing. For example, see the older Saints Row games and see the recent Saints Row game that just came, in 2022, Saints Row 5. It was so bad that they had to nuke their own studio. Art is kind of a thing that, if not valued properly, people are gonna lose their interest in doing that. Same thing happened when, automated machines came to design clothes. All handmade stuff just disappeared. At the end of the day, the companies flow wherever the whole industry is flowing, right? So Ubisoft is following the industry, and since this era of online games came, Ubisoft also tried to fit with that. And on this topic, I'm gonna be making a follow-up video, but overall, I would say that Assassin's Creed Mirage was a short-term thing in my opinion. While I played it, it was fun for some moment, but after that, I didn't really get the impact I got from the OG Assassin's Creed games. The game lacked the depth in the story and the overall structure. Basim's transformation was also pretty weird in my opinion. They actually made him worse than Valhalla's Basim. Valhalla's Basim was pretty good and mysterious in my personal opinion. In this game, they almost made him like a Joker at certain moments. In the beginning part, he actually is shown in a way that he's literally a clown, and suddenly from nowhere he just transforms into a guy who is just completely different. That is not a natural transformation. His transformation was just completely bad and unnatural in my honest opinion. Like, it does not happen in real life that from being a clown you're suddenly gonna become this sort of guy who is like a stoic person or something like that. It just does not happen in my opinion. And we also didn't get to see his personality in depth. It just was a bland character in my opinion overall. In Assassin's Creed Valhalla, though I don't like that game that much, Basim in that game was much more better in my opinion. There were so many things that they could have done with his character that would have resulted in a much better story and overall character. But anyways guys, that's it for this video, and that was my personal opinion on the overall back to the roots thing and how people were talking about it, how everyone got hyped with this sort of thing. And I generally don't get into this sort of hype because I know at the end of the day this is gonna be really temporary and people are gonna forget about this. People are generally gonna be hyped about a game if the story, the overall quality of the game is really good. Otherwise, these things are really temporary. Back to the roots or stuff like that, these sort of phrases, these things are really, in my opinion, marketing terms and nothing more than that. These things are just created to create hype. That's it. After the game is actually released, no one really cares about these things. But anyways guys, that's it for this video, and I hope you like this video. And what do you think about this topic, by the way? Do you think Assassin's Creed Mirage was actually back to the roots game or not? I personally think that it was not, and there's certain things that are not actually present in this game. We did not see the same amount of quality that was actually present in the older Assassin's Creed games. Comment your thoughts down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.